Good day, everyone. It's nice to be back on this broadcast. Uh, Awaken the leadership in you. I want to say uh, I thank God for the man of God who had deputized for me while I was away in all platforms of broadcast that I have been that I was doing before I went away. Good evening to you all. Good evening, everyone joining us on Facebook and everyone joining us on YouTube. Thank you for joining us tonight. And tonight, I just want to finish off the book, which we have been using for quite a number of time now. And I think I believe and I trust God that Pastor Abiola, who had deputized for me, and done a good job, not only during this Awaken the Leadership in You broadcast that happens every Friday, but also for the Sunday service and the Empowerment Hour on Wednesday. Praise God. Now, it's my joy to finish up the book today, the book Thinking for a Change by John Maxwell. And I want to trust God that you have been tremendously blessed by going through the book because it is important. You see, you will be where you are today in 5 years, except your thinking changes. Because when your thinking changes, your belief will change. And when your belief change, your feeling will change. When your feeling change, your action will change. When your action changes, and also your result will be different. So there is a process. In order to change the result you are seeing right now, you've got to have to know how to change your thinking. This is what this broadcast is all about. It's about empowerment. It's about mental empowerment as you look through the books of game changers, as you look through the book of movers and shakers in different industries, different fields, even within the Christendom, as well as in the business world. To be able to rub our minds against their minds. Because you see, what you see written down in any book is the mind of the author, is a summation of his thoughts that he had now made into words. So when you read people's books, you tend to think like them. That's the reason why the scripture says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord also and read. Because the more you read the Bible, the more you think like God. Provided you are able to meditate on that. So without much ado tonight, once again, I welcome you both on Facebook and YouTube, those of you that are joining me as I finish off the summary and the dialogue, the engagement with this book, Thinking for a Change. Remember, the dream is to be able to help you by empowering you through knowledge so that you can play your game well. You can play your game according to knowledge because honest knowledge is power. If you don't have the right knowledge about what knowledge is light, basically. Every problem is a result of darkness. When there is a problem, there is a darkness. So what you need in order to be able to eliminate darkness is light, and knowledge is light. The right knowledge is light, and the amount of it and the intensity of it will deliver the result you intended. But before I go to the 11th way of highly successful people in the way they approach life and work, I think today being the last day before we move to another book next week, I think it's good to recap and then I can then top it up with the 11th way of how highly successful people approach life and work. Now, one of the things you must also understand is this, especially believers. If you are a believer, you are joining me tonight. What you must understand is this. Listen, it is not so much about what you gather. Gathering in knowledge, it is what you do with it. What you do with it is what will determine the result you get. Remember, in the book of James, it says, "Be ye doer of the word, and not hearers alone. For only the doers of the word shall be blessed." He said, "The hearers of the word." The blessing is not in the hearing, because it is in the hearing that you accumulate all this knowledge. But the thinking to see, orienting your think to see how what you can do with the knowledge you have gathered is where the result is where you must focus on to be able to maximize the knowledge acquisition you've got through the book we have been reviewing. This is the third book that we started reviewing. Now we are about to be adjusting. We are about to be adjusting in the sense that we wanted to review, we wanted to read through the summary of each book in 2 weeks, but we won't be able to do justice to that. So we've had to adjust to accommodate the fact that it is better to be thorough than to be through. So if you are thorough, yes, there will be uh, dissemination. Dissemination is not what I want. There will be sediment of knowledge that will be precipitated upon your heart, that you'll be able to do something with it. So today, I want to look at all those 11 ways, but the first 10 ways, I'm just going to give a recap by way of going over them again to refresh your mind. Now, the first thing we look about, the first way highly successful people approach life and work is the fact that these ways are skills, by the way, so you can understand it. They are things that you can hone. They are things that you can improve upon. They are things you can acquire. Not only acquire, you can work with them, and you can develop. You can heighten your competence in them. So the first one that we looked at weeks back was the fact that highly successful people think about the big picture. Think about the big picture. So the question that is associated with thinking about the big picture for you is that you always need to ask yourself this question, self-dialogue, personal question: how can I gain wisdom by injecting holistic perspective into my thinking? Now, there has to be a balance of narrow-mindedness, narrow thinking, tunnel thinking. There have to be a balance between holistic thinking, that is thinking with a big picture, and concentrating and focusing in a narrow way, like the focus of a laser beam to cut through a steel. There is that on one side, and then there is the thinking the big picture on the other side. So big picture thinking means to see the world beyond your home pressing demands and requirements. It means to bring to bear the broader perspective of more important considerations. So big picture thinkers, now they have certain characteristics which you got to have to check yourself to see if you are operating in whether you have those ones. If you don't have them, to consciously develop those attributes. People who see the bigger picture take a top-down view of the world rather than getting caught up in the demands and emotions of the present moment. This means being open-minded in any situation and willing to consider new ideas and possibilities. In actual fact, that's the way the world moves forward, by looking at things in a broader way, in a more holistic way than just, on the approach of it, before you can begin now to turn it down to particular ideas and the relevance of that idea to your life. So, specifically, big picture thinkers are good leaders. They stay on target, they see things from the other person's point of view, they like and encourage teamwork, they never get caught up in the mundane. They are willing to move into uncharted, uncharted territory. What does that mean? They are not afraid of the unknown. Even when they are afraid of the unknown, you see, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the fact that even in the face of fear, you embrace your responsibility. You embrace the challenge in the face of fear, like the case of David in 1 Samuel chapter 17, that David confronting Goliath. It was a fearful thing, but he embraced it. He was psyched up himself. Would I say psyched up himself? No, he encouraged himself. He made himself to remember the power that was with him. So, also, listen, I am enjoying the discovery of something in the past 2 months that has been very exciting for me. And the more I delve to read it and get to know more about it, the more I say, how come majority of people's eyes are not open to it? Yeah, the whole world takes time to catch up with things. Anything that is a paradigm shift, it takes time. But those who get into it earlier reap the maximum benefit of a new paradigm shift. However, it takes assaulting of the mind, assaulting our mind in the sense that challenging your perceived notion, challenging the whole idea with a new idea, and accepting the fact that, listen, you got to have to let your mind be stretched. Because if your mind is stretched, it never goes back to the old form. It takes a new form. You will become transformed. So now, this is part of what happens with people who are willing to move into uncharted territory. It's not that they know everything, they are unknowns, but they have faith that embracing the unknowns will eventually become the knowns. So to become a better and more effective big picture thinker, you have to become comfortable with ambiguity. You have to attempt to learn something beneficial from each and every experience. You got to be willing to gain insight from a wide cross section of people. You got to be prepared to go against the flow. Now, there are a few quotes that I'm going to read here for each of these skills. Now, so for the thinking about the big picture, Donald Trump, before he was the president, remember this book was written about 2003, when Donald Trump was not even thinking of becoming a president, but he was a real estate developer. He said, you have to think anyway. So why not thinking big? Why don't you then think big? Think big. Think about the possibility. Let it cross your mind. Think about what your life could be if you think beyond your confinement right now. Because if you can think it, that means it's possible for God to help you to achieve it or to fulfill it. So if you have to think anyway, which we do anyway, why not think big? Then another quote here says, you've got to think about big things while you are doing small things so that the small things go in the right direction. In other words, it is the nitty gritty, the small things that actually accumulate to the big things. And therefore, what drives the big things are the small, small things you do. So you got to look at the big picture, but being able to break down to manageable steps whereby it eventually culminates into the big thing that you're thinking. There are also Winston Churchill said this in his days. There comes a special moment in everyone's life a moment for which that person was born. When he seizes it, it is his finest hour. On my school, my alma mater forum today, I attended a secondary school in Ibadan, in Nigeria. So my whole classmate, we formed a forum, and somebody was talking about destiny today, and he said it's nebulous. I said no, it's not. Destiny is not nebulous. Why destiny is not nebulous? Destiny is a concrete concept. What do we mean by concrete concept? If you ever think of movement going from one place to another, and you set off from point A to point B, or looking at your life, you have an entry point into life, and you also have an exit point. We don't know the exit point. You don't know the exit point, but the entry point, you are told this is the day you entered. Now, that destiny is the shortened form of destination. So what then happens? Without in destination, there is a purpose for movement. That purpose for movement from point A to B is the destiny of the destination, is the destiny, is the motivation for moving. So each one of us had an entry point, had an exit point. In between those 2 points, we are moving. And the whole essence of our moving between those 2 points is what? Is to fulfill purpose of God, to fulfill destiny. So there comes a special moment in everyone's life, a moment for which that person was born. So you are born for a moment, just as we usually will read from the book of Esther, that who knows whether you are born or you are put in the king's palace for a time like this. So there is a time like this for which you were born. That's the whole purpose of time. Time was created and you are brought into time in order to prepare you for the next line. So decisions, cumulative decisions you make in line, in your movement, daily movement, is what would eventually reveal your destiny. So your destiny is not just waiting for you at the end. Your destiny is what you act out every day. Every day, the decisions you make every day. And guess what? God in his goodness has given us the capacity to giving us two major faculties: ability to think back and ability to look forward. So with our memory, we explore the past. The animals don't do that. They are not able to make corrections on the mistakes of the past, but you can. You can. The fact that you failed last year does not mean you can fail. You have to fail this year. Why? Because you can correct your steps. You have the power of volition. You make the choices. The accumulation of those choices is eventually what leads to you showing up to reveal your destiny. Don't let me go. The preaching thing is coming upon me. So let me just stop in there. Now, John Maxwell, the author of this book that we are reviewing, said, if you desire to seize new opportunities and open new horizons, then you need to add big picture thinking to your abilities. Big picture thinkers don't let the grind get to them. They don't get faced. They don't get faced. They don't get discouraged easily by challenges. They don't let the grind get to them because they don't lose sight of the all important overview. So that's the first recap of the first skill, thinking in the big picture. The second one is use tightly focused thinking. You see, out of that big thinking skill comes this laser beam, narrow thinking to focus. Because focused thinkers concentrate on the major issues and ignore all distractions. Distractions are bound to happen. Distractions are bound to happen. But you have the ability to control the distractions, to not lose focus, especially when you are almost at the point of achieving the big picture. I was in the country of Nigeria in the past few weeks, and one mother was telling me the difficulty of her daughter to finish her master's in architecture, that she almost gave up. And I now to narrate my own experience as well. I almost gave up just at the point of finishing my master's in April. And I thank God the result is out now. I passed it. I passed my research project, but a period of 3-4 weeks, I hardly could sleep. I felt like giving up. Why? Distraction. So this is too much. But listen, that is what happens when your big picture is about to happen. You got now to employ a narrow focused thinking. It's the same thing when the child is about, when the pregnant woman is about to bring forth the child. Towards the moment of birthing the child, that's when she will feel like wanting to give up. Thank you, those of you congratulating me uh, on on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. But you see, during the moment that I was telling you that I almost wanted to give up, I said to myself, this is the last. I'm not doing any other study. But 2 weeks after I finished, gave birth to the project, before the result now came out last week, I said, no, I have to go forward. I can't thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. I cannot, but have to give forward, to move forward. I can't rest on the laurels of this. I can't rest here. I'm going to have to push back the frontiers of knowledge to be able to what? To make impact in my generation. Thank you, those of you congratulating me also on the Facebook. So, but I said that because of the fact that towards the end of wanting to achieve your vision, it will look as if hell broke loose, and all the labor for all that you are put into it, you, because of the pain and the pressure, you will feel like saying, forget it, I'll let go. But if you fail there, you have a stillbirth, you miscarry, listen, to go for the next level will be difficult, because they are sought upon your mind. Devil will do an extra work on your mind to say, you're a failure. You never finish it. In fact, some of the things I was thinking was that I challenge people to go forward with their life. How am I going to be able to give testimony that I started it and I wasn't able to finish it? But I wasn't even just thinking of that. I reckon the fact that I'm a leader, I'm a father, a spiritual father in the community. There are people who look up unto me that I challenge to not rest on a spot, but keep moving, keep going forward, keep adding values to your life. Because when you add values to your life, then your playing field will change. Why? Because you'll be attracting success more than you do before. You will discover that your circle changes, your circle of influence becomes widened and expanded. But there is always a price to it. That price is staying focused. It's race is being there. Stay there. Don't give up. So use tightly focused thinking, reminding yourself how God has brought you this far and how He is not going to leave you now. It's going to help you to move forward. So focused thinkers concentrate on the major issue and ignore all distraction. So distraction is the issue that I'm talking about. Don't be distracted. It's not going, Jesus Christ never said it was going to be easy on earth, following after him, which was what I like. He put all the cards on the table, and he didn't mind, he didn't mince his words, he didn't hide anything. He said, in the world you will have tribulations. So if you heard the word tribulation, you might say, Master, forget it. I don't think I want to follow you. Remember in John 6, when he said, my body is meat and my blood is drink indeed. If you don't drink of my blood and eat of my flesh, you have no part with me. And people who are following him hard and say, no, this is too hard. We're not cannibals. And he turned to his disciple, do you also want to follow suit? He said, hey, thank God for Peter who said. So what I'm saying is this: the cards on the table. There is nothing that is achieved in life. There is nothing that you attain in life that is offered on the bed of roses. Even if it's offered on the bed of roses, there are thorns on the stalks of roses. There are thorns on the stalk of roses. So, focus is just as important for individuals as much as for a nation or for a church or for a company, because focus harnesses energy. Focused thinking allows good ideas to be refined into great ideas. Focused thinking brings clarity. Focused thinking lays the foundation for success. To become better and more effective at focused thinking, decide what you should think about. Don't let people just dump things on you. I have to tell myself there are some apps that have some news, items of news, pieces of news on them that have to do with the country of my origin that I downloaded. But each time you read the news, the pieces of news, they come with all kinds of junks as well. Each time, and you always have to struggle not to look at those junks. I said, but who is stopping me from deleting this app and not use it anymore? It's an app that carries all kinds of news all over the world, but with it also comes some junks. I said to myself, nobody is stopping me from deleting this. I have the control over it. I deleted the app straight away. Why? So can I have a focused thinking on the kind of person I want to be, not only in the public, but in the private. I had to delete the app. I had to say to myself, I don't care what news this app is carrying. I don't want it. Too much junk. Too much junk of of sexual innuendos. How? Why? I said, no, I don't want this. Too much. It fragments my thinking and focus. So, focused thinking brings clarity because it takes away distraction. Clutter, you can ignore clutter so you can concentrate on the real issue. You can look into your life that one wants to clutter your mind, clutter your life, that will not allow you to think clearly and focused on the end in which you are trying to achieve. So to become better and more effective at focused thinking, decide what you should think about. That's it for me. I said, no, I don't want this to flood my thinking. So I had to make a decision. It's like what Jesus Christ said. He said, if your right hand makes you to sin, he said, cut it off. Ooh, that's a decisive action. If it's your eye, pluck it out. That is, you've got to be ruthless with a decision that you know is not favoring the eventual end. It's not favoring where you want to end up in life. So you decide what you should think about, the areas of your life where you have the most potential to add value. Remove any and all distractions and mental clutter. Set aside blocks of interrupted time for focused thinking. Keep your most important items of focus close at hand. Set some goals. Regularly question your progress and consider whether you are getting a decent return on your investment on time. Be willing to give up many of the things you love in order to focus on where you can make the greatest impact. So, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, concentration is the secret of strength in politics, in war, in trade, in short, in all management of human affairs. So concentration is the secret of your own personal strength too. So if you can't write your idea on the back of my business card, you don't have a clear idea. That is, you should be able to have a summation of what you are trying to do with your life based on understanding of your dispositions, your talent, your giftings, your skills, and everything. All these things are composite factors that make you to be able to know your shape, because it is your shape that determines your function. So David Picasso was the one that said what I just said. If you can't write your idea on the back of my business card, you don't have a clear idea. In other words, bring it reduce it until you strip all the clutter away from it so you can focus. John Maxwell, the author of this book, runs it up. He says, as you get older and more experienced, the need to focus becomes more critical. Yeah, especially for those of you who are in 50s, 40s, going to over 50s, focus becomes more critical. The farther and higher you go, the more focused you can be and need to be. That's the second one. I need to move fast. The third one, think creatively. The question you need to ask yourself with that particular one is to say, how can you think outside the square to come up with some original ideas? Listen, I find that you don't really have to come up with some original ideas. You can use ideas, two or three more ideas meshed together, and you come up with something new. That's what is called innovation. So creative thinkers come up with new and original ideas, but most things that we see are innovations, really. They are innovations because they are the combinations of other people's ideas that eventually, now somebody discovered the internet, started the internet, see what others have built on it, through it. There is a new technology that I am challenging you to begin to look into and learn more about it, blockchain technology. Please don't let it catch you unawares. In actual fact, that's the thing in the last 2, 3 months that is revolutionizing my thinking, challenging my thinking. You see, in 1995, when internet started, many of us were just chewing gums. But see, the people that knew and exploit, see what they have come up with. See what internet had become. There is another technology entirely, blockchain technology is what it's called. Search it out. Read as much as you can read about it. See how you can take advantage of it. See how that can add to your life. See how it can add to your life. Challenge yourself to start to think. Now, how is this relevant? How is this going to affect my life? And position yourself to adopt it to see how it can change the way you do things and it can bring a better outcome to your life. So, creative thinkers, they come up with new and original ideas. They celebrate the unusual, have different ideas and try new things. Creativity usually means being prepared to go out on a limb and keep searching for new ideas that just might work. You can see that it could be somebody's word that triggers ideas in you. Somebody's words, somebody's encouragement, somebody's ways, somebody's action, somebody's result. You begin to question, you begin to ask questions. Creativity is highly valued in life and business. So creative thinkers generally have several character traits. They value new ideas. They like to explore the options. They embrace ambiguity and uncertainty. They celebrate the offbeat and the unusual. They enjoy trying to connect the unconnected. They don't fear failure. Ask yourself, what new things are you embracing in your life at the moment? What new things is disturbing your equilibrium? Why? Because sometimes, this technology that we're talking about of in our days, they call it disruptive technology. So what is disruptive to your thinking that you need to inspect and prospect? So let me quickly go to the fourth one because of our time. Be realistic in your thinking. So you need to ask, that is the fourth skill that you need to gather, you need to acquire. So you ask yourself the question, how can I have certainty by building on the foundation of solid facts? So that means you're going to have to gather facts, first of all, interpret those facts, and see how those facts are relevant to your life. To enhance your ability to think creatively and optimistically, inject some good reality checks into your thinking. Unless you do this periodically, you will never be able to solve problems or learn from your mistakes. I was discussing this afternoon, when problems happen, they are meant to be solved. But closed mind would think that is the end of life. But when you have an open mind, what you could do, you can look up. Because when you are down on the floor, if you can look up, you can really get up. And the scripture says, look up, for your redemption comes from on high. So if you look up, You can look up unto people. You can look up unto God. When they say look up unto people, you can look at other people who probably have gone through what you are going through, and that helps you to be, how did they arrive where they have arrived? That begins to help you to know what you need to do as well. There's no point reinventing the wheel. Learn, be diligent. Hebrews 6:12. He said, don't be slothful, but by what? He said, but through diligence, be followers of them who through faith and patience have inherited the promises. There are those who have gone ahead of you. There are those who are on the same level with you. There are those that are coming behind you. All of us look up, because the word man, anthropos, in Greek means an object or an entity that looks up. An entity that looks up. We are the only entity that looks up. And who do we look up to? We look up to God. Okay, so it's therefore you have to be realistic in your thinking. If you are really, you have to ask yourself, what certain facts do I need to gather? Like I just challenge you with thinking, start to investigate what is this blockchain technology, Internet of Things. We are living the moment, we're living the age of Internet of Things now. We are moving into another age, but all of them still backed up by the internet functioning. But we moved into another age of blockchain technology that is going to revolutionize everything that we do. Everything, all industries it will affect, and is already disrupting it already. But only those who understand the times and the season are the one who can see and they know what they ought to do. You have to position yourself to know what to do as well. Because in another 5 years, 6 years, 10 years time, the story will change. It's already changing, but you get to get in on it now so that it can change with you and it can land you on a safe haven. Okay? Now, let me just give you a few quotes concerning this being realistic in your thinking. The value of a good idea is in using it. This is what Thomas Edison said. Idealism increases in direct proportion to one's distance from the problem. But the closer you get to the problem, the more you can focus. But you can be an ideal. Have you heard the story of a man who wrote the book, How to Raise a Child, when he was still single? How to raise a child. He was not yet married, and he's telling those who are married how to raise a child. When he now got his own child, and they asked him the question, he said, just throw away that book. Because he's now close to the job. He's on the job now. So he discovered that all he has written so far was idealists. Idealists, they are just idealists. So they are not the main. Until you get close to it, that's when you can inspect and see clearly. So idealism increases in direct proportion to one's distance from the problem. Have you seen people in church that say, pastor is not good enough, pastor is not doing this, pastor is not doing that? Then they say, I have an idea. They always come up with the idea. And then you say, okay, they should hone the idea and do the idea. That's the last you will hear of them. And those who will criticize the pastor, they can't even run their own affair well, because they don't know what it takes to lead the people. See what the scripture tells us. He says, let's see how you lead your wife and your children at home first before you start saying you want to lead the church of God. It's a different ball game to lead people in the open space, in the public square. It's a different ball game. A very different. But what prepares you for that is nothing but your private life. Because if you have not won in the battle of life privately, you're not going to win publicly. So, see what R.E.S. Truman, one time United States of America's president, said, I never give them hell. I just tell the truth. And they think it is hell. And Winston Churchill again said, men occasionally stumble over the truth, but most pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing has happened. You need to be focused. Now, the fifth one, we're moving. Think strategically. The question you should ask yourself at this point is, what can you plan today that will increase your result in the future? In fact, this is where this blockchain technology comes in. How can I take advantage of the blockchain technology so that I can have better results in the future? This blockchain technology is a leveler. It's a leveler. It's like the internet. It's a leveler. Please, I implore you, I beseech you by the mercies of God. Don't let us just bury our head in the sands while the world is moving and the world is determining our result, and we just embrace the result. Please, please go to YouTube, type in blockchain, listen to different talks, go to TED Talk, listen to different people talking about blockchain. Ask yourself, Lord, pray, Lord, how do I get into this that is going to change my life? Because whether you like it or not, is a change that is going to be enforced upon you. But you be part of the change. Then what happens if you're part of the change? You remain on top of the change than when the change is dropped on your lap. Strategic thinkers. Strategic thinkers look before they plunge into action. They pause and do some strategic thinking. By stopping to think about why you do something first, you raise the odds that your effort will not be wasted on non-productive activities. What does this mean? This means when we're talking about strategic thinking is nothing but planning. Planning. And what does that planning mean? You can't plan without a purpose. So you plan in commensurate to the purpose, idea, destiny, where you want to see yourself in 10 years' time. See what this pandemic has done. This pandemic has brought a disruption, economic disruption, health disruption, family disruption. But you see, you can use it to your own advantage by asking God, why everybody is in a lull? How do I need to position myself for another takeoff? Because after this pandemic, there's going to be a takeoff. There's going to be a takeoff, a greater takeoff that will take those who are just spectators by surprise as opposed to being participators. So, strategic thinking involves maximizing your strength and finding the most effective way to achieve your objectives. And the key benefits of strategic thinking are: strategic thinking simplifies the difficult. Strategic thinking encourages you to customize your plans to meet the circumstances. Strategic thinking forces you to break down complex issues. Strategic thinking helps you deal with uncertainty. Strategic thinking reduces errors. It's plan. You can never overplan. Our God is a planner. We believers also need to be planners. We need to engage our minds with ideas that pop up from within us, and what? And critique the idea before anybody also even critiques it for you. So that's the fifth one, thinking strategically. Now, the sixth one, think in terms of possibilities. I cannot also overemphasize this. Don't always see the bad side of everything that happens. When people talk about the bad side of what is happening to me all the time, it gets me, I get switched off. If all what you see in every situation, circumstance is the bad side of it, I get switched off. Yeah, life is full of challenges, but we're not focusing on the challenge. We are focusing on the possibilities. So you ask yourself, how can I harness enthusiasm to develop solutions for hard problems? Enough is enough of crying to say, why is your life this way? Why not? The people who are doing something, who are moving on with life, they face more challenges than you. And in actual fact, this is also where your prayer also comes in. You are not always praying, God deliver me, God deliver me. God, make me a solution myself. Don't focus on your personal problems. Lord, what solutions can I bring to the problems of others in spite of my own challenges? Possibility thinking means to think about things that are not presently possible or that have never before been attempted. By injecting some of this type of thinking, you open your mind to a broader spectrum of options and ideas. Options and ideas. All the great advances in commerce and in society have been made by people who are not prepared to accept that something was impossible. The advantages of possibility things of possibility thinking is that your options and possibilities increase. You know what Jesus Christ said? He said, "To him that believe, all things are possible." And with God, all things also are possible. So, to him that believe is in the class of God, with whom all things are possible. So, all things are possible for you. Stop thinking impossibility. Stop thinking terminal. No, the God who is on the inside of you, if you're a believer, is able to pull you through. Is able to make you overcome. He is an overcomer. He lives on you. He said, "Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world." I want to preach again. So that's the sixth one that was looked into. Now the seventh one. Embrace okay. Now, under that one, I've got two under the sixth one, think in terms of possibilities. I've got two quotes I may also read out for you. One is by John Maxwell. "I know possibility thinking isn't in style with many people. So call it what you like. The will to succeed, believe in yourself, confidence in your ability, faith is really true. People who believe they can't, don't. But if you believe you can, you can." That's the power of possibility thinking. Napoleon Bonaparte said the word impossible is not in my dictionary. Tear it off from your dictionary too. Okay? The next one, the seventh skill that you have to gather, you have to embrace, you have to acquire so that you can have a better result with your heart, with your life. He say it is embrace some reflective thinking. Listen, this one is key. Ability to revisit the past to get a better perspective and understanding. This is what is called the gift of hindsight. You know, there are four kinds of sight that God had given us. We have hindsight, we have insight, we have farsight, and we have foresight. And guess what? They are all in a continuum. They are interrelated. So, hindsight, in actual fact, talking about foresight, you can't have foresight without having insight from hindsight. That is, where do you think you are going to be tomorrow? It's a function of the insight you have into what was your yesterday. What was your yesterday? Because where you are going to, God had already been there before he asked you to start the journey. So you need to then know what was it that he had already completed before he gave you start. You need to know, you need to ask yourself that. Reflective thinking. I can't remember, it was when I was doing leadership and management with Open University, a course, a degree in leadership and management with Open University. And I remember one of the modules there, reflective practice. And reflexive practice was a key thing to know for leaders, and then for them to be able to develop. Practitioners have to learn how to inculcate or how to incorporate reflective thinking into their work. So to use a metaphor, reflective thinking is like the crock pot of your mind where your thoughts simmer and stew until they are fully done. So since society moves at a rapid pace, few people take the time to reflect on what they do. This is unfortunate because reflective thinking can add much. Reflective thinking gives true perspective. Reflective thinking generates emotional integrity. You know, God is a reflective thinker too. You know, each day of recreation, the scripture says, and God saw that all he had done was good. Saw means he looked at it, he evaluated what he had done, he assessed himself. That is reflective thinking. He looked at yesterday. He looked at what he had accomplished today and said, it is good. That's reflective thinking. If our God practices that, how much more you? Begin to find time, wake up early in the morning or before you sleep. Reflect on the day that had gone back. And also imagine the day that is ahead of you. Two powerful faculties, ability to memory and imagination. With memory, you access the past. With your what? With your imagination, you access the future. Combining both, listen, and one informs the other. Your past informs your future. So you got to have to develop that skill, ability to be able to, don't always have noise all around you all the time. Take time out to just sit down and think through. Think through. I found that the best way for me to think through is not when I lie down. Yeah, you can start when I lie down, waking up in the morning. Waking up in the night and not being able to sleep again. It's time to think. Let me move to the study, this present study where I'm broadcasting from. Sit on my comfortable chair and begin to think. The whole house is quiet. The whole surrounding is quiet. And in fact, that's the critical time to pray and for God to be able to speak to me. And guess what? It is through my thinking He speaks to me and gives me direction and says, why don't you do it this way? Why don't you go? Why don't you ask that person? Why don't you engage that one? Embrace some reflective thinking. John Maxwell said, ultimately, reflective thinking has three main values. It gives me perspective within context. It allows me to continually connect with my journey, and it provides counsel and direction concerning my future. It is an invaluable tool to my personal growth. Few things in life can help me learn and improve the way reflective thinking can. That's John Maxwell. See what George Washington, one time US president, said. We ought not to look back unless it is to derive useful lessons from past errors and for the purpose of profiting by dearly bought experience. So your experience is not a waste, whether good, bad, or ugly. None of them is a waste. One will teach you not to, one will teach you to improve, one will teach you to do better. Ability to think back. In actual fact, prayer, thinking through issues in prayer is a form of thinking in prayers, is a form of prayers. You let the Holy Spirit inject your mind with certain thoughts while you're praying, while you're focusing. I can't tell you some other things that I come up with when I'm praying. My wife is involved. Who knows that? I don't want to tell you about that. The creative thing I come up with sometimes. The unexamined life is not worth living. That's what Socrates, a Greek philosopher, said. And William Shakespeare said, experience is a jewel, and it had need be so, for it is often purchased at an infinite rate. Experience. None of the experiences of your life is a waste. Now, quickly, let me move on to the eighth one. Always question popular thinking. Ask yourself the question, how can you overcome the limit everyone else just accepts? Going against a commonly accepted wisdom sometimes takes a lot of nerve and self-confidence. In actual fact, when everybody else is heading in certain direction, you need to ask yourself, do I need to head in that direction? Is that where I want to go? And guess what? It's not easy to swim upstream. But those who swim upstream are winners. The payoff, however, can be huge. Whenever you find yourself doing something because everyone else does, stop and think about it. The difficulty lies not so much in developing new ideas as in escaping from the old ones. John Maynard Keynes, from which is an economist. The man John Maynard Keynes is one economist whose name was combined with Milton to create Milton Keynes. So he said the difficulty lies not so much in developing new ideas as in escaping from the old ones. It's not easy to have new thinking patterns, to have your paradigm shifted. but shifted, they can be shifted. We must discard the idea that past routine, past ways of doing things are probably the best ways. On the contrary, we must assume that there is probably a better way to do almost anything. We must stop assuming that a thing which has never been done before probably cannot be done at all. No. You see, some of the sci-fi science fiction of the 70s, they are realities today. You imagine that? They are realities today. The sci-fi scientific imagination of the 50s, of the 60s, of the 60s, they are realities today. So whatever you think that comes to your mind that is good, it means it's possible. It means it's possible. So don't undermine yourself. Don't say, who am I to be able to think of anything to change my world or to change the world around me? Why not you? If not you. So we limit our success when we adopt popular thinking. It represents putting in the least energy to just get by. You must reject common thinking if you want to accomplish uncommon results. That's John Maxwell. The ninth one is encourage the input of others. You see, the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th have to do with your interactions with others. Very, very important. You got to have to know the minds in the life of those who are around you, and be able for you to pour your life into them and they pour their life into you. So encourage the input of others means you ask yourself this question: in what ways will using the ideas of others compound my effectiveness? Good thinkers value highly the ideas of people who can make a meaningful contribution. Now, I don't like people bringing problems to me without coming up with a suggested solution. So I will question. And some may think, I just come for you to help. No, I don't want to think for you. I want you to think through it. Think through it. And then I can add mine to it. Or before you come, think of what is the likely solution you want to use to solve the problem you want to share with me. It's good, it's important, because it's the same thing that happens to you. You will have thought through certain issues in your life before you now throw it open to others, and their perspectives can help you to make it better. So encourage the input of others. Hear what this quote are. No matter what you're trying to accomplish, you can do it better with shared thinking. None of us is as smart as all of us. Ken Blanchard. John Wolfgang, that's a German philosopher and poet. To accept good advice is but to increase one's own ability. So, and lastly, I want to now look at the last one, which has to do with try collaborative 10th one, try collaborative thinking, which means you ask yourself the question, how can you work with others to create an enduring legacy? Collaborative thinking is unselfish thinking. Instead of focusing on your own problems and challenges, collaborative thinking is outward looking. It means to make the world a better place in the future because of something you did. And guess what? It takes a team to achieve much. Together, everyone achieves much. TEAM. The acronym for team means together, everyone achieves much. So people in your life contribute to your life, and you're contributing to theirs. Collaborative is the way forward, even in the economy, in the digital economy that we have come into. The economy is changing. It may be down, but on the hub, it's taking new form entirely. That's why you need to begin to look into this blockchain technology. You need to begin to look into it. It's okay. Pastor Bola said it's delivering value around the world. Listen, you haven't seen anything yet. That's the reason why I want you to get into it quickly. Get as much as you need to get to know about it. You know, some people still don't understand this. You don't need to understand the internet for you to take advantage of it. I'm taking advantage of the internet. Now, it's the same thing with blockchain. You don't need to understand everything, but see how you can take advantage of it for your own benefit. That's my take. We were all alive when when internet started. It took us time to catch up with it, not with this blockchain technology. We must not be the last people as believers to catch up with it. Lastly, oh good God, use bottom line thinking well. That is, ask yourself, how can you maximize the tangible result of your thinking? Bottom line thinking isn't purely financial, because when you talk about bottom line in business, you're talking about your financial gain. You're talking about your ROI, return on investment. It means to look at the objective of your life, the purpose, the destiny, or the objective of your organization, what you aspire to achieve in the world, and to evaluate whether or not you are delivering on what you promise. That's the true bottom line. Okay? So bottom line thinking means to benchmark your activities to see whether or not you are doing what you set out to do. The advantages of this style of thinking is that it provides great clarity. It can be applied right across an organization or just in an individual life. It provides the basis of good decisions in the future. Bottom line thinking is good for morale. By focusing on the bottom line today, you lay a good foundation for success in the future. We have come to the end of this book, challenging us to think for a change. I will encourage you. You can buy it from Amazon. You can get it. I'm not sure if you can get it on what's this called again? This ebook app that you use, that you Amazon uses, or any one of us. You can't get it. Just get it. Go over this again and again. All throughout this year. That's what Kindle. Thank you very much, Brother Nathan. Kindle or on audio. It's also on audio. Pastor Yezu was telling me now on that it's on audio. So get it on audio. Listen to it. There is another app that you can get that can help you to improve. Edway is what it's called. Pastor Abiola introduced me to it. 15-minute summary of a book, and it can change your life. 15-minute summary. I was listening to one of Thomas Stanley a few days ago, The Millionaire Next Door. Wow. I got the book for almost 20 years now. I've read part of it, but listening to it, the summary of it on audio, it impacted me. The habits of millionaires. These are some of the things we'll be reviewing, we'll be looking at, we'll be interacting with during this kind of broadcast and mental empowerment. Thank you for joining me tonight. Look forward to seeing you online on Sunday as well as next Wednesday during the Empowerment Hour, and also on Friday as we start a new book along the line of thinking, helping you to change your mind for a paradigm shift at this point in time. Thank you. God bless you and keep you and make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you and lift up his countenance towards you. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Thank you.